So we're started, huh? Now we can't say nasty stuff, huh?
Yeah, well, we can always talk about the sea chickens.
Oh no, we don't
That's
want to
about
talk
as
about that.
nasty as it gets.
Yeah. I may get upset. That's almost like talking about that S school.
I was going to bring that up. I mean,
Yeah, sure you were. So what do you
how
want to
you
talk about
doing?
today? I'm going great. Well, no, actually not. I'm still got my muscle spasm pinching the nerve, so but it's not as bad right now. I don't think I'll be able to go tomorrow.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I'm hoping the week after put me on the IR.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll put you on what is it, the 3-day unable to perform list or whatever it is.
yeah. The 3 week. I think they put it for.
I don't want to go 3 weeks. I only want 3 days.
Yeah. I think it's PUP, physically unable to perform, or something like that.
Yeah, they've changed things over the years.
And yeah, it's getting tiring. The last 2 years, we've had nothing but injuries, and it always seems to be the key players.
Well, if you look throughout the league, there's the same thing is happening to all of the teams.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I don't like that artificial surface. There's more leg
Yeah.
injuries there because it doesn't give, so the joints give. Where on grass, the grass will give a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what do you want to do?
Growing up playing football, I didn't have to worry about artificial turf. That was something that came along later.
Well, as a kid, we liked playing after or during the rain. We used to do what we called mud bowls. And we would go out and just come back completely covered in mud. To where one time we came back to my buddy's house and his dad came out laughing at us. And he just took the garden hose and started spraying us down. So, but that was fun. Those were fun times. So last time you wanted to know how I became a 49er fan.
Yes. Would you tell me the story of your 49er fanism?
Okay. Well, first indoctrination was my dad. Well, my dad was a two-time All-American in Berkeley, so I was spoon-fed football from the start. And he was also head football coach and director of athletics at the local junior college. And I got indoctrinated into football in that while he was the coach, he made my brother and I the water boys, which was a thrill. And so one early Christmas present was that my dad took the family, my mom, my brother, and I, to a 49er game. I distinctly remember the game. It was 49ers against the Baltimore Colts, and I loved that because who was the quarterback of the Colts at that time? Johnny Unitas.
Johnny U.
Yeah, and quarterback at that time was for the game that we went to was Y.A. Tittle. And that's where, because Tittle and Brody were sharing the quarterback position. But this game, it was Y.A. Tittle. And the 49ers were heavy underdogs because the Colts were winning the Western Division then of the NFL. And the Niners were a so-so team, maybe a 500 record. And the end of the game, the Niners had beaten them 21-6. And I just loved the color of their uniforms and the spectacle of the game. It was in Kezar Stadium, of course. Didn't like that we had to hike a whole probably 2 miles from where we parked to get in the stadium, because Kezar Stadium, people don't realize, was right in the middle of Golden Gate Park and right in the middle of the Haight-Ashbury. So there was no parking. And if you found a spot, you took it, no matter how far you had to walk. But luckily, it didn't rain that day. And from that time, I went to maybe 1 or 2 more games as a youngster. There was a section in Kezar Stadium that was sponsored by Christopher Milk Company, and they would give tickets out to local schools and Cub Scout troops and things like that. And so I maybe went to 1 or 2 games under Christopher Milk. Then one year I moved to a different area and had met a new neighbor whose father ran a large plumbing supply company in the Bay Area. And they had many tickets, season tickets for the 49er games when they were at then Candlestick Park. And so my new neighbor, asked me, "Are you a 49er fan?" And I said, "Let me think about it, yes." And so he started taking me he get 2 tickets to go to the game. So I started in 1979, started going to the games pretty regularly. And then in 1981, my brother and I were lucky enough to get 2 season tickets. And we started going 1980, 81. And which was when they first went to the first Super Bowl. So I was season ticket holder from 1981 up till 2001. And that was probably some of the best football ever put together in the NFL at that point. 20 years straight, the Niners were always good, going through Joe Montana, Steve Young, and even, that kid from San Jose State that quarterbacked them. What was his name? Can't remember his name, but he was a scrambling quarterback, number 5. I'll remember it partway through. But those were good times. Lots of great memories, lots of great players, lots of Hall of Famers playing, through Niner Hall of Famers playing at that time. And so it was really fun.
You talking Garcia?
Yes, Jeff Garcia. Thank you.
You see behind me that number 5 jersey. That's whose jersey that is.
There it is. But then it stopped in 2001 because daughter was going to college, so it was time to get her through college and hang up the season tickets. But when I first started with season tickets, we would get 10 games, of course. 2 of them were preseason, which I would give the tickets up because I learned early on that rookie fans go to those games, and their goal was to see how drunk they could get and be ridiculous, And
so you added to the rookie fans going to the game by giving away your tickets?
Yes, I did. So, but back then, 10 games, our season tickets, I would have to pay a whopping $300. They started bringing ticket sales up a little bit during that time, but it was pretty affordable. Not like today where you have to buy a seat license and tickets are skyrocketing. And So thus ended my days of going to the game unless someone brought me to it. So that's how I became a Niner fan and stayed with them. And I'm in a neighborhood right now where I'm surrounded by Sea Chicken fans, and they keep trying to get me to become a Sea Chicken fan. And I tell them, it ain't happening, guys. So just stop. But the best thing that happened, we came up here from the Bay Area 4 years ago, and I got up here and couldn't watch the Niner games unless they were a nationally televised game, because I wasn't going to buy the NFL ticket, being retired and stuff. And just one day I was taking my neighbor to the airport, and he says, let's go a little bit early, stop and maybe get a beer at a brewery on the way to the airport. I said, okay, fine, we'll stop. Let's stop at a place in downtown Vancouver. And we just so happened to pick Heathen, and went in, and the bartender looked at me sort of weird and says, are you from the Bay Area? And I said, yeah, why? And he says, well, you got the Warrior hat on. And I said, yeah, I'm a Warrior fan. And he goes, well, are you a 49er fan? And I gave it the, let me think about it, yes. And he said, well, the owner of the brewery is a huge Niner fan here. And every weekend, every Sunday when the Niners are on, he opens up the brewery to all 49er fans and has screens everywhere going with the 49er game. And I said, that's good. I'm here then. So I went the first time right after hearing that, went, and what an experience. It's like you're surrounded by Niner fans, just like when you go to the game, you're surrounded by Niner fans. And you're really, you get to know people, the regulars like us, old fogies. And it becomes an event again, just like going to the game was an event when we went to the game. There was when I was season ticket, it was an all-day event. We would get to the game, to the stadium about 8:15 in the morning, and go to my friend's RV. They had a section at Candlestick where it was just for recreational vehicles, big RVs, and people would tailgate there. So we would bring in, what food we were going to eat and what beverages we were going to consume. And in the morning, we would have breakfast and talk football and drink whatever cocktail you had. And then around 11 o'clock, we would eat lunch and talk football and consume beverages, and then go into the game. And then after the game, we would come back and in the RV, watch the highlights of the game, post game. And then when that was done, then we would take off and head on home. So it was an all-day event, and the same group of guys for 20 years got together every weekend. So it was an event just like going to Heathen is an event. And anybody who's watching this and hasn't been to Heathen needs to go there for the experience. I'll guarantee they'll enjoy it.
Downtown Vancouver.
Think? Yeah.
Washington.
Don't you think though?
Oh yes, I love it.
It's really.
I found it a little differently. I actually went online and researched where the Niner group met, and that's how I found them. I
was lucky enough. Thank goodness my neighbor had to go to the airport, right?
Yes. And it actually is on the way.
Yeah. Well,
because the freeway entrance is right there to get on 14 to go down to 205. So
So yeah, it's a great experience. It's a great experience, and all good people. All good people.
Good food.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, and they have a good stout there.
They
Uh,
also have good kombucha. And their coffee's really good too. I was kind of surprised there.
I, I'll be honest with you. You know how many times I've had a glass of kombucha?
None.
None.
Why haven't you tried it?
I
Rather have the stout?
have no idea. I stay with my stout. So yeah, it's a great experience. Enjoy it. It would be better if we were winning. Right.
Well,
You,
it's going to
you,
turn.
you saw that Kinlaw is out for the season.
Yes. But that's a good thing because they found out what the problem was.
Yeah.
And the doctor says he can fix it.
Well, that's good, but does this no good this year?
No.
And that's one of the areas, even with Bosa, our defensive line is a weak spot, a real weak spot. And that's why teams run against us and also pass because we get no pressure on the quarterback. You know how I'm a firm believer you got to get pressure on the quarterback.
Oh, without a doubt.
And Bosa's being doubled every play because all the rest of them can be taken care of by a single blocker.
Well, not all of them. We've got
Well,
some guys that are good.
yeah,
And
but they're
they
not getting
double.
pressure. They're
They-
not getting pressure on them.
Yeah, well, not getting enough.
Right. And we need our linebacking core has been decimated too.
Yes.
And that's shown through the fact that a lot of the times tackles on run plays are being made by the defensive backs, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want. You don't want your defensive backs with any tackles at all. It's better
Right.
for them not to have any tackles.
Right, exactly. And we right now the only quality linebacker we have is Warner,
Yes.
and let's face it, he's a stud. He's a great linebacker. He's got speed, he's got technique, and he
Smarts.
just has a nose for the ball.
Well, he was a safety in college,
Right.
and that's amazing.
Yeah. He's a good linebacker. I guess, do we get Greenlaw back this week?
Not this week. I think next week we get Dre back.
Ah,
We've really been missing him.
yeah.
I think that Warner's been trying to do too much.
Too much. Yeah.
And it's really affecting his play.
And
And with Dre there, he's very comfortable with doing just what he needs to do instead of trying to cover for everybody. I think that's the big problem with the team is that they're all trying to cover for someone else instead of just do your job and trust that the other guys will do theirs.
yeah, it's tough, Yeah, the third and long is not a good situation because it seems like if it's 3rd and 13 that teams pick apart our secondary. And
It used to be that 3rd and long was lick your chops time.
Yeah. So, but also our weakness, I feel, is offensive line too. I think I'm about done with the McGlinchey experiment. He just isn't making it.
Well, he did better last week.
Yeah, but he had too many holding penalties, and he also, I don't think he's making a pass coverage pass protection. And yeah, I don't know much about the center as to how well he's doing, but I I don't know what the story is with Ayuk. He seems he seems to run good patterns, and if the ball's in his area, he catches it. And
Well, he's tipping off his pattern he's going to run. He runs a different pattern, a different way for different patterns. And so they've watched enough film on him that the DBs know where he's going.
Okay.
I've watched a few breakdowns on him and I see it.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully they can get that changed, because let's face it, without Kittle in the lineup, defensive backfields can concentrate on Debo, and Debo's a stud.
Yes, he is.
He's a stud. Get the ball in his area and it's caught, and then he doesn't go down easy either.
Well, Kittle was working on the sidelines with it during team practice this week.
Who was?
Kittle.
Oh, is that right?
But he can't come back because they put him on IR. But he's working away from the team on the sideline. So he's going to be raring and ready to go.
There's a guy that gives 110%, and you need everybody to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So and the running back injuries is getting old, and as you and I were sitting there when Mostert wasn't going back in, I told you that's going to hurt us year long.
Yep.
And because he seems to be able to find the holes early on, where other ones are hesitating to go through the holes.
Well, he's fast enough that once he goes through the hole, he's gone.
Right.
So he hits that hole, and then he hits the hole hard and fast, and then he's got another speed that he shifts into.
Yeah. So here's my thinking about quarterback. I think they have to do much along the same lines that Walsh did with Steve DeBerg and Joe Montana. DeBerg was the starting quarterback, but Walsh would put Montana in under certain situations to get him some experience, but not throwing him to the dogs at one time, especially with this offensive line, because they don't give much protection for anybody. But it's also because of this offensive line that you need a mobile quarterback. But Lance is not going to learn how to read defensive schemes as much as sitting on the sideline than being under center.
I totally agree with that.
Because I have a feeling that he doesn't have the recognition of the defenses, and that's why he's taking a long time to get rid of the ball. He's got to learn to get the ball and get rid of it, read the defense and get rid of it. Yeah, because he does.
We're talking Trey Lance now, aren't we?
He seems to opt to run the ball quite frequently.
Yes. And
he's got to learn that he's not going to survive in the NFL doing it that often.
He's not a running back. We don't want him to be a running back.
No, we just want him to be able
picks on a running back.
Yeah, you want him to be able to get in the pocket and traverse the pocket, and when necessary, get out of the pocket in order to find an open receiver. Here we are. bunch of old farts telling him how to play the game.
Yes. Well, we've got the experience.
Yeah,
It may not be actual on the field experience,
yeah,
but we've learned an awful lot over the years watching.
yeah, yeah. So it's good that they're not throwing them to the wolves,
Yes.
but I believe they got to get him into every game at some point and give him a series or two just to get the experience. So, because they can't afford another loss if they're thinking about playoffs.
Correct.
And to be honest with you, I don't see playoffs in the future with all the injuries.
Now, I'm a little more optimistic, but
Well, we got a lot of tough games ahead of us still.
oh yes, it doesn't mean we can't win them.
Yeah, but we'll see.
That's right. That's why they play the games.
There we go.
Voices say